Okay, y'all. One Piece chapter 1165 officially came out yesterday. What I want to do is give a little context from my last video. I know that sometimes the panels and what I'm saying has different dialogue. That's because the panels that I'm using is pre-translations, and what I'm saying is the final translation. So basically what I'm saying is the official stuff, okay? But you just still get to see the panels. Let's just go ahead. The chapter is called Reverberations, and we get a cover picture of Beppo and Trigon Falal sleeping peacefully using Zeus as a pillow. Cool. Alright, we go right back into action of things. While Xebec is crying and still saying through the voice of all things to Roger and Garp, saying, "Please." You hear that too? That's what Garp says to Roger. And Roger agrees, says, "Yeah." And then you see a panel of Xebec coming and charging towards both of them, and he says, "Just kill me." And as the sword you see coming towards them, they say his words, his attitude, his expression, they're all telling different stories. While we get a big clash between the three, nice little hockey clash. Xebec looks just freaking huge. And then we see Garp charging up another fist, and he punches Xebec straight in the face. And it kind of pushes Xebec back, but Xebec is still taking a blow while clashing with Roger with his sword still. And then he was able to just explode and send them both back. Both of them start crashing into mountains and stuff like that. We get a whole bunch of, screaming from them. And everyone's just watching off as the smoke and everything is going. And you see people in the background saying, "Why does the sky looks like that?" Because Xebec was able to split the sky by himself. So that's why they're like, "Why the sky looking like that? We've got to evacuate before we're all dead." And then I forgot his name. I think it was Silver Axe. I don't know. The guy with the Rock Spirus, with his, with the shades on and stuff like that. He says, "Steal the ship and get off this island." "What do you mean, rock ship? You really think he's coming back?" And then Shiki announces, "This is the end of Rock's pirates." And all the other pirates are running, saying, "Hurry to shore." And then one of the Marines is like, "What did you say, Vice Admiral Garp?" And Garp says, "Once you got every living resident and sailor on board, shove off and get out of here." And then you see someone from Roger's crew asking, "What's happening on the island, Roger?" And Roger says, "Once Rayleigh and them get to you, wait off the coast." And we see a panel, both of them looking beat up, but they're both on their snails, saying the same thing. "I'll be back." And we see Xebec approaching them again as Roger says, Roger, I came here intending to arrest you both, but..." And Roger says, "Yeah, and my plan was to steal Shaki and the treasure and hightail it out of here." And then they're both saying, "Instead, shall we team up for a minute?" That's what Roger says, actually. And you see an angry Xebec while Garp says, "I have a number of issues with this, but I can't afford to let him run free." So Xebec jabs at Garp. Garp flips over him while Roger comes to the side to try to swipe him from behind with the sword, smacks him, and kind of makes Xebec fall into the rocks. While Garp saying that looks like you've got the curse. Saying that. And he grabs Xebec's foot And it looks like he's about to like, yeah, he tosses him. And as he's tossing him, he says, "Is there any way to break it?" Boom. And Roger is coming up. He's like, "Just wake up," as Roger's trying to strike him. That's when we get back to Rayleigh with Shaki and with Gabon and Gloria. Rayleigh says, "Faster, Roger's going to keep fighting until we've evacuated the island. That hockey's off the charts." And Gloria goes up to Gabon and says, "Got a spot for me on the ship, I assume?" And he's like, "Gloria, son." So it looks like Gloria, after this, after God Valley, Gloria went to left with Roger now. Okay, all right, that's nice to know. So then we go back to Kaido and Big Mom, who decided to just not fight anymore. They were like, "Listen up, Kaido. You owe me for the rest of your life. You're gonna make good on that." And that's what Big Mom says. And Kaido responds, "Fat chance. It was finders keepers, Lin Lin, and you lost. Just watch me. I'm going to create a crew where violence rules all." And then Lin Lin says, "You think you're hot stuff now? Keep dreaming of the day you beat me. It'll never come." And the old dude who basically manipulated Lin Lin all his life, but not really, because she was just inherently evil anyway, says, "Come on, Lin Lin, let's get moving. Carry this treasure." And that's when Lin Lin tells Kaido, "I'll come and collect one day." And Kaido tells her, "I'll be waiting to crush your spirit." So we get back to Xebec smacking the hell out of fucking Roger. And then they just leave. They go to another panel where we see Whitebeard looking confused. I'm surprised why Whitebeard didn't just jump back into the fight, but okay. And then you see someone in the back saying, "You're the one who knocked down that mountain, aren't you, Newgate? Newgate, who are you? Looks like your crew's falling apart. The name's Graham, captain of the Polo Pirates. Polo Graham." So this man's name is Pologram. Number one, right? And so I guess, and he looks just like Marco, so it's obvious this is Marco's father. And I guess he's like, number one, okay. If his first name is Graham and his last name is Polo, right? That means Marco's name is Marco Polo. What the fuck? It's like, if you go, I could probably, let's play a game. Go up to anyone who's not caught up with One Piece, right? And ask them what do they think Marco's last name is. They're probably going to say Phoenix, which is weird. But I think they're going to guess Polo. Don't tell them the answer, especially if they don't want to be spoiled. But that's hilarious. That's funny. I'm a big fan of yours. You say you got no ship to go back on to, huh? Team up with me instead. And it looks like he's floating. But Whitebeard says, "Get out of my hair." And then we see Stussy saying, "Hey, where did Newgate go?" And I think it's Zhangzi. No, not Zhangzi. Silver Axe. I know I called the other guy Silver Axe, but I'm pretty sure Silver Axe is the one with the armor. So yeah, Silver Axe is like, "Don't ask me." And we get to a marine ship and we see somebody saying, "What are you doing, Dragon? Calm down." And Dragon got a gun pointed at someone, at a soldier's head, and said, "No, what are you people doing? Did you know what we were aiding here? Dragon, to put them on your ship right now." So, and the guy's like, "Dragon!" And Dragon's like, "Put them on your ship right now. We have to rescue them. And if anyone argues against it, I'll execute him on the spot." And then someone says to Dragon, someone replies to Dragon, this isn't going to end here, Dragon. And Dragon says, it better not. So Rayleigh and Gabon are running from the ship, and someone's asking, Rayleigh, Gabon, where are you going? They said, and Gabon says, don't dare follow us. Take the ship out into the water and wait. And we see a world government ship sailing off, and we see a dark like bubble, so we know who's talking now. Saying,
that island will never have existed, understood?
Then we notice that God Valley is on the Blessed Blue, if people didn't know. And it's Saturn on the ship, as he has the eyes of Emu. So it's Emu basically still possessed by Saturn. We get a narrator stating, as we see the battle commence on between the three, Roger, and Garp. And he says, the God Valley incident, S-level top secret classification. Records of the Calistine operations and special hazard pay for Naval Base G11 and Cipher Pole number 6. Registry of participants in the human hunt expunged. Site of event God Valley. Island's location area. Population details erased. Number of fatalities unknown. And then you see someone says, Garp, did you know about that black enormous monster the government has? And they call themselves the good guys? And then Garp says, I can't believe it either. And Roger says, if you're going to quit the Navy, come join us. Don't be an idiot. And this is what Garp says. Don't be an idiot. If I quit, who's going to watch out for the rank and file? So basically we get our reason why Garp, after all this bullshit, still holds his position in the Navy in high regards. Okay? And then we see Roger gets up and he's just like, it comes down to mass, doesn't it, Garp? And then Garp says, mass? What do you mean? Roger wiping his blood from his mouth, saying, first of all, the color of armament is the power that doesn't yield to devil fruits. And on top of that, I was wrenched in color of supreme hockey. There's no way it couldn't have hurt him. And then Garp, yeah, he was guarding with extreme king, so they canceled out. Exactly my point, Roger says. There's no damage unless we surpass that. And then Garp is like, if it comes down to who wears down first, we'll lose. There's no way to keep up with that monster like that thing. Then Garp says, if that's all down to wear and tear, we'll lose. There's no way to keep up with that monster. And then Roger replies, so if you want to hit him with a critical mass supreme king hockey, exactly. Don't even think about whatever stamina you need after that. In that case, you're saying we don't come back from this alive. And as they're saying that, they look at Xebec and they say, Roger says, can we pull this off? All three of us will be down for the count. Garp replies, but if we miss, we're done for. Listen up, Rocks, as they're stepping up to him. I don't know what I can say to console you. I don't know what happened to you either. But there's one thing I do recognize. And you see a great panel of Xebec just sobbing and hurting and just he feel like he's in pain. And he says, "I recognize your sorrow." And Roger, about to cry himself, says, "Don't cry, you idiot. God of fire," as he brings his sword back. And then Garp brings his fist back. "Infinite." And Xebec screams out. And as a big double panel, we see Roger screams, "Ace!" And Garp says, "Explosion!" And the narrator, this is really good. I'm not gonna lie, this is really getting to me. Well, I got a little choked up reading this, As the announcer says, "The world government attempts to cover up everything that happened here. But the downfall of the Rocks D. Xebec and his lawless band of followers, the Rocks Pirates, who wreaked havoc on this era, cast unmistakable reverberations that shook the very world." So that is the end of Rock D. Xebec, and it's bittersweet. Sweet because I'm going to say the bitter part. The bitter part is the fact of what everything that we found out about Rocks and what type of person he is, and what he went there for. I keep umming because it's really getting to me. And the sweet part is that now we finally found out the who, what, and why of God Valley. And a lot of people think that we are getting a perspective of God Valley through Loki's eyes, but I don't think so, because Loki wasn't there. We only had 3 perspectives of God Valley so far, and that is from Sengoku, when he was just giving us a rundown of what happened. Now the events of what happened wasn't entirely true, but the main stuff was true, okay? There was an event on God Valley. The Rocks Pirates was there. Roger and Garp ends up defeating Rocks. Sengoku was clear about that and true about that, but he wasn't there. Then we had Kuma's perspective of God Valley, where he was a part of that's how we found out that there was a rabbit hunt going down in God Valley. We found out that that's where Kaido and Kuma's fruits was there, and that there was, at the time, 4 more fruits that was there, or 4 more treasures that we was there that don't know of. But now we're getting this, I would say, just a telling of the God Valley incident. We have 9 instead of 12 treasure chests, and I feel that just gives us a sign that what we're going to get a 4th perspective down the line, and that would be in the perspective of who is actually at the God Valley. Maybe from Blackbeard, it may be from Ivankov, we might get Kaido and Big Mom coming back just for that. Just for that. We might get it from Garp himself. That's really all, or Dragon himself. That's really all who really matters when it comes to, and who's still alive, unless we get Shiki returned and he tells us. But that's all really who matters on who is there and who's our take is. But I don't want to rant a little too much. What do y'all think in the comments? We do have a break next week, so we won't be doing this next week. Hopefully I'll be back on my anime reviews by then. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like I've already said, like this video, share this to a One Piece fan, and don't forget to subscribe or follow, because you gotta have those reviews with me. It only works with One Piece for the next day. I don't care. Bye.